All right. Well, the Buckeyes were able to get the win. They pull away in the second half. A lot of great moments here in this game. Some really not good moments here in this game. And just for the most part, a lot of the same issues that really plague this team. However, I do give all credit to Rutgers. I know there are going to be a lot of Buckeye fans out there that are going to be like, it's Rutgers and we struggled with Rutgers. This team is terrible. If you have not watched a lot of college football this year, Rutgers is legit. Greg Schiano has done a phenomenal job with this team. Sure, the offense isn't all quite there, but Kyle Manungai, that running back, is a workhorse, and Rutgers has a really, really good secondary, some really good pieces on the defensive front seven that were able to give Ohio State some fits, but especially that secondary, man, is really, really good. It's the best part probably of that entire team, and it really did give us fits today. So give all credit to Rutgers. I thought they played a really, really good game. That being said, did Ohio State play their best football? No, not by a long shot. I really don't think Ohio State has played their best football for a full 60 minutes so far this season. Not expecting them to here over these next couple of weeks, but I do expect to see some improvements heading into that game in Ann Arbor. So we're going to talk about a lot of things here. A lot of things I've already talked about before, so hopefully this video is a little bit shorter than what I normally record for my Ohio State fan reactions. But what's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate. You are in the booth with Tailgate Nate today. Welcome to my channel. I do bleed scarlet and gray. I'm a huge Ohio State Buckeye fan, but I talk a lot more college football here. We do top 25 and weekly takeaway videos. Those come out on Mondays. Weekly predictions come out Tuesdays through Thursdays. And new thing I'm doing starting on Friday, just kind of talking about something that's going on in the world of college football. If you are a college football fan, you want to see my opinion on what's going on, you want to hear what I have to say, please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell so you know when videos get uploaded. There are more ways than that to help me support the channel. You can like, you can comment, you can share, and you're doing a huge way to help support me right now just by watching this video. So whatever you guys are willing, able to do, it just means a lot to me for any support that I may be able to get here on my channel. But that's enough about me. Let's talk about what we saw here in this game between the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. So I think there were a couple things that happened here in this game that made Ohio State struggle. One, well, this is definitely a very, very underrated road test. And by that, I mean Piscataway is not necessarily one of the environments that's known to be a really, really tough place to play. However, with how Rutgers is playing this year, with the way this team is looking, Piscataway was a lot tougher of a place to play than it usually is, and I think it got this Ohio State team rattled a little bit, especially in the first half. And again, I just give all credit to what Rutgers and Greg Schiano have done so far this season, because that team is legit. That's a really, really good secondary that has a lot of great members there. The offense was really able to work here in this game, specifically on the ground. You had 232 rushing yards on 43 carries, 5.4 yards per carry. Kyle Manungai was really, really good, 159 yards for him. You even saw Gavin Wimsatt get out of the pocket, something that he's known to do quite often there as well. Now, is Wimsatt's ability there as a passer? Not really. However, especially down the stretch and beginning of that third quarter there, he made some really, really good throws. So I do give credit to Rutgers because this is a much improved team here from seasons past. Coming into the game, I kind of figured that, you know, the Buckeyes were going to be able to win, but I also knew that it was going to be a little bit stiffer of a test than we're used to seeing out of this Rutgers team. So give all credit to what Rutgers was able to do there. Again, some very, very good plays, especially from Manungai. And might I add, too, we're going to start talking about this defense today because the defense obviously is what leads this Buckeye team. And you know what? They gave up their first 40-yard play yesterday, and it was off a fumble-rooski. Which, by the way, now that the game is over and all my stress is gone, that play was awesome to watch. So very, very good play call there from Greg Schiano. Almost got tackled in the backfield there by a couple of Buckeyes that tried to jump over that pile. But, I mean, just a phenomenal play call, phenomenally executed. And that honestly should have been a touchdown if the Rutgers players on the outside got in the way of Davis and Igbinosun a little bit better. But Igbinosun able to make the tackle. And then the thing that impressed me about the Ohio State defense here in this game, there were many a times that Rutgers was able to get into the Buckeye red zone, but goal line stands really came in handy here for the Buckeye defense. It really kept the momentum on their side. So the Rutgers kicker, whose name I'm getting right now. I don't know why it is escaping my mind there. Jai Patel went 3 for 3 on field goals, but again, they were all when Rutgers was inside the red zone. He made a 20-yarder, a 21-yarder, and a 22-yarder. So all of which are chip shots, all of which you expect to make, but it's something that just really impressed me about this Buckeye defense yesterday is they were able to force the Scarlet Knights into kicking field goals instead of the Scarlet Knights coming away with 6 points and then tacking on the extra point there as well. If that would have happened, if this Buckeye defense would not have allowed field goals, the score would have looked a lot more lopsided, I believe. If you take away the 9 points, you add on 21 there, so a change of 12. You're looking at a score of 35-28, and then there's a much bigger conversation that's happening around the nation up to this point. But this defense is really, really good. Saw a lot of very good moments here from this Buckeye defense. We're able to get a sack there from Ty Hamilton, able to get Gavin Wimsatt down. The run defense just really was not there today, and really don't know any way to kind of explain it other than the fact that this Rutgers offensive line really started to take over here at moments. And Kyle Manungai, just at times, really was able to keep his legs churning and made some very, very good runs. Now, does this Buckeye run defense need to be better? Yes, absolutely, 100%. However, I do give a lot of credit to what Rutgers was able to do there on the ground. And there were times where the offensive line just kind of took over. There were times where the Scarlet Knights offensive line was pushing the Buckeye defense backwards when it really should, at least on paper, have been the other way around. So good job to Rutgers and what they were able to do there. But I could gloat about this Buckeye defense all day long. Even though the run defense still was not there, you did allow 361 yards of total offense. And here's what got me with Rutgers, right? And this is part of the reason I knew that this was going to be a much stiffer test than it usually is the entire game plan here for Rutgers in this game was to control the clock. That's all Rutgers wanted to do. They wanted to be able to control the clock. They wanted to take as much time away from Ohio State as possible, and yet the Buckeyes were still able to put 35 points up on the board, even though Rutgers did outpossess Ohio State by more than 10 minutes, more than 11 minutes, actually. Rutgers had the ball for 35 minutes, around 35 and a half minutes. Ohio State only had the ball for 24 and a half minutes. So that was a huge part as to why Rutgers felt like they were able to keep this game a lot closer than what the final score were able to indicate here. Ohio State did not run a second half snap until around like 6 minutes left. And that's also big in part to the weird tip drill deflection interception that was able to be run the other way. That's what really sparked this game. It felt like Rutgers had all of this momentum, and even again, that first play or that first drive there of the second half felt like Rutgers was going to go down there and score, and it felt like, this game could really start to get away from the Buckeyes here. But what happens, there's this weird little tip drill thing. Jordan Hancock is able to pick it off, run 93 yards the other way. Penalty marker on the play. Oh no, a lot of Buckeye fans holding their head. It was a low chop block. Gavin Wimsatt there went low on Josh Proctor, ended up putting him out. That's the other thing too, right? So Josh Proctor went out after that chop block, and we were already without Lathan Ransom here in this game, were the Ohio State Buckeyes. So definitely something there to keep an eye on moving forward. Again, you have Michigan State, probably should be a winnable game, or probably should be a game that you dominate in. Same thing when you play the Minnesota Golden Gophers, but the Buckeyes are going back to the horseshoe, so that'll be something really key there. Talking about the offense now, and look, honestly, when this team, and I believe I've said this on this video series before, so those of you that haven't been keeping up, might be the first time you're hearing me say this, might not, who knows, but there is a reason I'm kind of in the Jim Tressel tie t-shirt thing going on right here. Obviously, it's meant to represent his sweater vest. It is just a t-shirt, I know, but there is a reason I'm wearing this, and it's because this team sees a lot of parallels from 2002, and the way that I kind of coincide that is this is an Ohio State team that is defensive led. It's a defense that is elite. It is really, really good. It's really good at forcing field goals instead of turnovers. Doesn't really generate a whole lot of takeaways, but does when it needs to, and is really able to flip a game on its head. Is really able to give this Ohio State team momentum. And then it's an offense that, while sure, can definitely have some explosive tendencies, has a lot of very, very good game breaking skill position players. Travion Henderson was an example of that here in this game, 128 yards and a touchdown on the ground, and was the team's leading receiver with 80 yards. And then Marvin Harrison Jr., even though he only had 4 catches for 25 yards, did have 2 touchdowns that helped the Buckeyes pull this one out. But back to me kind of comparing there, right? Craig Krenzel, he was the quarterback back there in 2002, and not really known as a game-breaking quarterback was Craig Krenzel. However, a very good game manager, would make some smart decisions when he needed to, and he'd be able to win you a game down the stretch. Did it against Purdue and a couple of other games there in 2002. Of course, the most notable one is going to be that game there against Purdue. That's the holy Buckeye thing that happened, right? But when you take a look at this team, a lot of parallels from there in 2002, right? So and we all know what happened in 2002. This team was able to walk away with a national championship. Now, did this defense play its best game against Rutgers? No, not by a long shot. This defense can definitely play a whole lot better, especially on the ground with that with that rush defense. Again, I do give a lot of credit to what Rutgers was able to do, but at the same time, Ohio State's run defense definitely can perform a whole lot better than what it did today. Other than that, I thought the secondary, even with how beat up it was, still played fairly well, also given the quarterback that they played against in Gavin Wimsatt. There was a moment there, or there were some moments where he just got hot, started to hit receivers left, right, and center, but this Buckeye defense still did not crack, only giving up 1 touchdown here in this game. And actually, only the second highest point total that Ohio State has given up all season. Again, their highest point total they've given up was to the Maryland Terrapins. That's also when the Terrapins were really getting on a roll there as well. Ohio State handing Maryland their first loss of the season, and we all know what's happened with Maryland, just downhill. When I take a look at this Ohio State schedule here, though, do I expect them, and I know this is the conversation going around, not that I care about it that much, but is there still reasonable expectation that this team is number 1 when the next rankings come out on Tuesday? I don't think so, especially with what Georgia just did there against Missouri. That's a resume padding win, and they looked a whole lot better than what Ohio State did here on the road. Now, were there good moments in this game from the Buckeyes? Yes. I thought Kyle McCord had some really good moments, was able to hit some receivers here and there. I mean, all in all, was 19 of 26, only 189 yards, but 3 touchdowns, and then, of course, 1 pick. Just didn't layer a ball right, was trying to get it out to a receiver. I'm blanking on who that receiver was, but just didn't layer the ball right. And, Rutgers' best defensive player, Mohamed Toure, was able to go and pick it off. So, just working on that there from Kyle McCord, definitely going to be something that he is going to need to work on, just being able to layer it. All in all, again, there were some decisions made by Kyle McCord that really just kind of irked me, like, well, why wouldn't you throw it there? Or, come on, Kyle, that has to be a better throw. Again, did make some really nice throws as well, ended with a QBR of 79.8, so not a bad showing from him, can't really argue too much with that. Again, just kind of saying the same things that I've said about this team all season long. However, what did improve in this game is when they were in the red zone, they came away with touchdowns. That's what they did. They came away with touchdowns when they got in the red zone. Jaden Fielding did not have to come on to attempt a field goal here in this game because the Buckeyes were scoring touchdowns. So there is an improvement that was made here in this game. For all the talk of, Ohio State definitely didn't play their best football because of A, B, and C, and because of this, and because of that. A, I give a lot of credit to Rutgers, but also B, when you take a look at the way this team is improving, third down, it didn't start out too great. I believe Ohio State started 0-5, 0-6. They ended 6 for 12. So really good job on third down from this Ohio State team. And they were able to come away with red zone touchdowns instead of red zone field goals, something that's really, really going to help them as they move forward this season, as their schedule gets tougher, especially there in that final week. Not saying it's going to get tougher here over the next 2 games. These are the next 2 games that Ohio State really should be able to win, barring anything spectacular from the team on the other side of the ball. Next week, again, back at home in the shoe, you got to play the Michigan State Spartans. We're going to be sporting the all grays. I've been really excited to see these uniforms all season long. It's going to be a nighttime primetime game there from Columbus, Ohio. You get Minnesota the next week, and then obviously the game, big noon kickoff there on the road in Ann Arbor against the Michigan Wolverines. So definitely still some things to improve upon. I think Kyle McCord's footwork and some of his tendencies definitely still can improve, while the offensive line, I think, is little by little gotten better throughout this season. Definitely still some room where they can improve as well. And that tough little stretch of games there is over for the Buckeyes. Obviously, you had that top 10 battle with Penn State. Penn State probably going to get back into the top 10 after Oklahoma lost this past week. You had to go on the road in a very tough environment, night game, and play the Wisconsin Badgers. You're able to get the tough, grinded out win there. And then while it always wasn't pretty against the Rutgers Scarlet Knights, you still do find a way to beat the spread, and you go win that game there against the Rutgers Scarlet Knights by 19 points. Their 35-16 was the final score here of this game. So the one thing that I want to go back and touch on that I definitely didn't do a great job at touching on before was the game-breaking ability of TreVeyon Henderson. Boy, oh boy, especially now with Mayan Williams being announced that he's going to be out for the season, it is imperative that TreVeyon stays healthy and he plays exactly like what he did yesterday. 22 carries. I've already mentioned his stat line, but I'm going to mention it again. 22 carries, 128 yards. For those of you that aren't good at math, that's 5.8 yards per carry with 1 touchdown, and then did have a 65-yard reception that was really able to spark an Ohio State drive. In total, 5 catches for 80 yards, and because of that 65-yard play, by the way, the only 40-plus yard play that Rutgers has given up all season, so both of those streaks came to an end here today. TreVeyon Henderson just showed his game-breaking ability, and with the way that this Rutgers secondary was able to limit guys like Emeka Egbuka and Marvin Harrison Jr., TreVeyon Henderson doing what he did was really, really needed, especially for the limited amount of time that Ohio State had with the football. If it wasn't for TreVeyon Henderson, this game definitely may have been, say, 24-16 or 28-16 or something like that, but nonetheless, really good job by TreVeyon Henderson. His ability to take over games is insane, and we all know that this team still has one of the best wide receivers in college football, Marvin Harrison Jr. Even though he didn't have the yardage totals that he has had in the past 4 weeks, still had 2 touchdowns, still had his impact felt here on the game. Just having Marvin Harrison Jr. on the field is something that's really, really key for this team. That's all I got here. Again, a lot of the same things. So just to give a little brief recap here, offensively, I do like that there's been continuing improvements made on 3rd down, especially 3rd and short, which again didn't start well yesterday, but got better throughout the game and ended really well. This team is coming away with touchdowns instead of field goals in the red zone, something that they needed to have been doing all season long, but glad that it's showing up now. And Kyle McCord make a little bit of some better decisions there. At times, again, does have some really good throws. There were some moments where wide receivers were dropping footballs as well, so that's going to be something that needs to be cleaned up. And this defense, hey, continue to do what you're doing. Can the run defense improve from the tape that was put on display here in this game? Yes, absolutely. And then let that secondary get healthy there. Let guys like Josh Proctor and Lathan Ransom come back. Hopefully those injuries are not super serious, and they're at the very least going to be able to get back there and play that game on November 25th. Of course, that's the one that not only fans of Scarlet and Gray, fans of the Maize and Blue are circling, but everyone around the college football world is circling as well. But final score from Piscataway is 35-16. Rutgers may very well be able to win another game or two here this season. So even though a lot of people are going to say like, oh, it's Rutgers, when you take a look at this team, this definitely could be a Rutgers team that could end up being a resume booster instead of a resume killer, as they have been in the past. And no slight to what Rutgers as a program has been in the past. That's a great job there that Greg Schiano has done with that program. But again, that's going to end it for me. Around a 20-minute video. Not too bad. Did say it was. I was going to want to try to make it a little bit shorter, but hey, you just get talking and stuff happens. So that's going to do it for me. If you want to hear more thoughts on what I have to say about this college football season, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, do anything you can help support the channel. Remember to play hard, but tailgate harder, and I'll see all you guys in the next video. Goodbye.